Most games are not Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, or Catan, games that have been in print continuously since their debuts, respectively, 21, 25, and 30 years ago as of this recording. Most games have a brief time on the market, and then they're gone. Maybe never to be seen again except at a flea market or in a box in someone's garage. But publishers are always looking for something new, and by new, sometimes they mean old. They look at a design and think it's ideal for today's market, and so they will license it, often give it a new look, a new title, and present it as a new game. Because for most people, it is a new game. They have not seen every game that's come out over the past 10, 20, or 30 years, so they'll look at something like Waddle, a game released by Allplay in mid-2025, and say, oh, I wonder what this penguin game is all about. And then other people, looking at the gameplay, say, wait, I remember that design. That was Gypsy King, a game that came out in 2007 from Dutch designer Corné van Moorsel, who released it through his own brand Quali. That game came out, I played it a number of times in 2007, few times in the years after that, and then kind of forgot about it. Even though I really liked the design, just more games keep coming and you forget to go back to things that you like. That's how it works sometimes. But Waddle now gives me an excuse to talk about this fine design because it's on the market again as a new game. Whereas before you were trying to place gypsy caravans around lakes in a forest, you are now placing penguins around fishing holes on the ice. So it's the same, but not quite the same. They made some changes to the gameplay here. Let me show you how this works. To set up Waddle, place the ice tiles on the table and push them together into a continuous sheet. The tiles are numbered from 1 to 20. You adjust the number of tiles you use depending on the player count. Then you just push them all together and place this identifier ring around the number 1 fishing pool. You randomly determine player order and place the marbles in the track. And now your players are going to take turns placing penguins around the active fishing pool or jumping ahead to the next one, the number 2 fishing pool in this case. So orange is going to take a penguin and place it on one of the empty spaces around the number 1 fishing pool. And then green will do the same. Purple goes here. They can place here, but maybe they don't like the looks of that. And they say, I want to be first at the next pool. I'm happy to jump aside. Maybe red does the same. And yellow says, whatever. I will go ahead and take that. They go to the back of the line. All the spots around 1 are filled. You move this over to number 2. Move this to show the active track, and all of these players stay in the same order and go to the back of the line. Now, each player has 2 double penguins, and you can place one of those twice, and then that's it. So purple goes to the back of the line, red over here, maybe orange goes here, and green doesn't want this spot. Maybe they want first shot at number 3, and so they jump over here. And maybe everyone jumps over here. Whoever is last must fill the remaining spaces with their penguins. So they get a free placement. Orange was at the back of the line, just went. They get another placement, but it's not a super valuable space, at least as everyone else is judging it. Number 2 is filled, and now we go to number 3. And this shows one of the things that we are trying to score, because some of the fishing pools have fish in them that are worth a certain number of points, and you score those points by having the majority of penguins around that fishing pool, or the combined fishing pool in this case. So the number 1 has no fish next to it, but you can place next to the 1, and now you're placing next to the 9, which has a fish of value 5. Similarly, this one has 4. This is nothing. So maybe that's not attractive to go there. The purple player jumps ahead to 2 and takes the only space that is next to this fishing pool, which has a 7 value fish, and they place their double penguin because they want a head start to getting the majority of penguins around this space. That is one way that you score, and ties are friendly. So If people tie for a majority of penguins around this fishing pool, they will each score those 7 points. If there's 2 fish in a pool, whoever has the most or is tied for the most will get the larger number, 8. And second or tied for second gets the other number, 6. And third gets nothing. Okay. So green may jump ahead because this has a 5 and a 1 fish, has a 2 right here, and they're happy to drop their penguin. And now they're next to both of these pools. In addition to placing penguins to try to score for the pools, you are also trying to create valuable waddles. And waddles, well, that's the name of a group of penguins that's on land. Right? If the group of penguins is in the water, it's a raft. If it's just both all around, it's a colony. But here it's a waddle because we're on icy land. And a waddle is any group of penguins together. This is a group of penguins. It's only one penguin, it's worth 1 point. 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. This is 2 penguins, which is worth 3 points. So the game uses triangular scoring. Every additional penguin that goes down is worth as many points as the number of penguins now in the group. So that was 1 point, that's 2 points, that's 3 points. So 6 total, 10 total, 15 total, and so on. So in addition to scoring the fishing pools, you are trying to create waddles. And both of those ways to score are reasons for you to jump ahead and not just take your turn like normal. So 3 is filled, we go to 4, red is up. Looking here what they want to do. There's 2 fishing pools. Right? So maybe they go there. Orange goes here because they get those 2 fishing pools as well. Green goes here and hopes to maybe connect. Yellow does connect. Okay. Go to the back. Purple comes up. It's isolated here. Maybe they want to go here. Maybe they want to jump ahead to 5. But 5, well, you get first shot at these right here. And then red goes. And now you start having choices. Well, I probably want to cut off the orange. I can't connect with the red around the 4. You go here. Orange is like, I want to go first on 5. If green jumps ahead, that lets yellow make a bigger waddle. But what value is it of green? Well, if green goes here, then they tie for a majority around this fishing pool. And they'll be sitting at the back for a little while. 4 is done, we go to 5. And purple goes out here. Often when you're placing, you're trying to leave yourself options for where to play in the future. Purple could go here, but now it has only one other spot around the 5. But now it's got 2. It's got another opening out here. Orange can go connect. Yellow, cut people off, right? Do you want to be jerks? Do you want to score for yourself? Well, often it depends on the player count. The 2-player game, extremely jerky because every point you can take away from your opponent is essentially a point for you. 5 is done. Go to 6, which is right here. And again, green might want to try to connect. Okay. So we continue as follows. You see how this works. All it is placing a penguin or jumping ahead. It's extremely straightforward. It's a minimalist Euro-style game. You've got 2 choices, and you just do that for the whole game. And then at the end of the game, you are going to score points based on majority around the fishing pools, based on the size of your waddle, up to 36 points. For a group of 8 and a 2-player game, you will score up to a group of 10. Use this little whiteboard to track your score, and that's it. You are done. Now, very simple, straightforward. The difference between Waddle and Gypsy King is that you, in Gypsy King, would play from 1 up to whatever the highest number is, which will vary depending on player count. You score, you remove everything, and then you play again starting from the highest number and going down, which reverses some of the incentives. You're going to play differently starting from 20 than you would from 1, because as you're playing certain numbers, you're setting up potential places for the future. Green is looking ahead and wants to connect at 10. So as we start going to 8 and 9, green may decide, I just want to jump out of here so that I can connect here. And now I've got a group of 4, which is worth 10 points. And this would have been filled by someone, and this would have been filled. Actually, these all would have been filled with the 6. So they have to say, I score for 10, I go to the back of the line. Maybe I get to do 12 as well if I jump ahead. I do 12. This spot will be filled by someone, but 20 is still open, and maybe I can jump ahead and score again. So you're judging whether to jump ahead or not, but then when you play in reverse order, you're going to start from 20. So these spots will all be filled first. And then you're going to 19, and now you already have someone seated at the 5 hole. You've got this one out here for 5 or 2 trying to connect. So now you have reverse incentives for where you're jumping at which times. And interestingly, as you play, often spaces will get filled completely. So this 18 here is going to have all 5 of these spaces around it filled. By the time you actually get to 18, there's only 1 spot left. Orange wants it, red wants it, purple wants it, and maybe the other colors are looking ahead to 19. Try to get the majority here. So the board fills up in different ways every single time you play due to the random layout of the tiles. Many games always advertise modularity, and we set up the board in different ways, and this has a very organic feel to how the modularity works because the tiles are relatively small and you just put them together without thinking about it, and then you start looking and seeing where are the possibilities to play. Where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How am I going to play and try to fit together waddles while also trying to get the valuable fishing pools? Very straightforward play, but highly engaging no matter the player count. I played Waddle 5 times on a review copy from AllPlay, 3 times with 4 players, and twice with 3. I've also played Gypsy King at all player accounts, so I'm merging that experience into talking about Waddle because the gameplay is the same aside from the 2-act structure of Gypsy King. And the gameplay is incredibly engaging at all player counts, but you definitely change tactics in how you're doing things because with 4 and 5 players on the board, you're placing many fewer penguins, and so you have a tendency to be willing to jump ahead more to ensure you get the spot you want. You might be at hole 12 and you're like, nope, I'm going to hold off to 13, and then you get to 13 and you're like, nope, I'm going to 14 because that was your actual target, not 13. You just really wanted that one to connect 2 smaller waddles into a large one or to grab some fishing pool, and you wanted to ensure yourself that you would be able to do that so you can hold your spot in line as you keep jumping. But of course, with every jump, you're not placing out a penguin. So you have to judge, if I place on 12, how many people are cycling through, and will I get the shot at 14 that I want? And of course, someone else could jump ahead to 14 and take the thing that you desperately need. So it all depends upon desire of the players because there's no randomness in the game at all. You see everything out there, and if you want to guarantee yourself a spot, you can do that, but it may cost you a lot by jumping ahead many times. Something you can't do as much in a game with 3 players, and especially with 2 players, because when you jump ahead, every spot around the current fishing pool is filled in by whoever is the last player in the track. In a 2-player game, you jumping ahead means the other player gets to fill every space around that pool, which immediately is often giving them a waddle with 2 or 3 penguins together, or gypsy caravans if you're playing the original game. So you have to change a lot. Where's the point where you're willing to jump ahead and give up something? How valuable is it to you? And you could calculate everything. Here's the current score for each player, and here's how I'm going to get advantage because they're going to get 3 points, I'll get 4 points, this, that, and the other. And I imagine some people play that way, and I play much more intuitively where I am not keeping track of anyone's score, but just individually, what's that waddle scoring for me? What's that one? Who's getting that pool? What are the chances that I can get into that pool as well? You have only the 2 double penguins to manage, So everyone is thinking about that constantly. Who has what available? Where is the majority? How can I snag it from someone else by going in after them? Or will that space be filled and I won't even get the chance? It's a very quick playing game. It's just incredible how simple this design is, how intuitive it is. At least intuitive for what you're doing, but not how to play well, because what are the right times to jump ahead? You sometimes get an issue with lots of players where clearly there's a good move for this particular player, and it's terrible for everyone else. Who's going to bite the bullet and occupy that space so they don't connect those waddles or someone doesn't get that pool? Maybe someone will do it, maybe not, because people say, not my job. I'm just going to jump ahead to the next pool, leave it for someone else. And someone else goes, and someone else goes, and then one player gets a giant group. So there is that dynamic that some people might not like, where you feel obligated to stop someone, or you just look out for yourself, or you play with two players, which is awesome, because then it's just you and one other person, and you don't have that dynamic. 3 players, you still have it, but not much, because it's only you or the other guy. So you hope someone else is going to jump ahead, and maybe you're coming here and you're going to end up getting everything that's left over because the other player doesn't want to go in this terrible spot or terrible 2 spots around the perimeter of the area. There's lots to think about every game that I play, and it's weird because it's not a memorable game in terms of remembering particular moves, because every move is just place a penguin, place 2 penguins. You don't have this story of the game in terms of different types of actions or experiences or something you're building towards, but it's more this continuous flow of placement and little battles all over. Can I connect that? Can I connect that? Can I get the majority? What am I doing here? Just little bits here and there. And then you add it all up. And one advantage that one player was talking about, of course, this is a very tiny box. Waddle originally appeared in a box the size of the That's Life, not quite as thick, but it was originally this size with much larger tiles. You had these chunky wooden caravans and just larger everything. And now you've got this little tiny thing. So it's kind of the style, right? I did a video before for Big Shot. Came out in 2001, and then the Korean version comes out, and it's 1/4 the size of this older game. It's amazing how we do that. All these older games now getting reborn as tiny little things. Now, one issue I have with Waddle, the only complaint I have about Waddle is not about the game design, but about the graphic design. Let me show you. You might have already noticed this when I was explaining how to play, but the numbers on the fishing pools are not easy to make out, and the numbers on the fish themselves are even harder to read on the table. This is a 1 and this is a 7. And this has the bar across it in the European style for writing a 7, yet on the table I find these two almost indistinguishable. So that's a problem, because you definitely want to fight for the 7. You don't care as much for the 1. And you want to know where are valuable spaces to be competing over when you were deciding where to go and when to jump ahead. That's been a problem in a couple of the games that I have played, and that's not good. So I need to label these better, or possibly just go back to Gypsy King, pull that out of the closet, and play that instead, in order to be sure that everyone knows where the next lakes are, where the valuable spaces are to compete over. The Laurel is a big miss as well with the type of typeface, because I also looked at this at one point and confused it with the 4, because this part of the Laurel loops around just like this part of the 4. So thought it was 4. Oh, look again. Oh, that's actually 1. Okay. Typeface is not ideal choice here, because you have tiles that are going to go in every orientation on the table, and so that you want the numbers to be legible no matter how they're arranged. The game would really benefit from the dyslexic style font that's heavier on the bottom, so that even if you're looking at something that's turned around, you can visually see where the bottom is by having the wider base on the numbers. Have this be a lot larger, or I don't know, just fill in with a larger typeface, maybe a bold typeface so it's a thicker number and you could read that color more easily in the space. That's the only miss for me in this design, is the actual graphic design here, which makes the game more difficult to play. Maybe the solution is to take a marker and just write the fish values more clearly on each of the tiles. Not sure exactly what the solution is, but I need to do something so that the game is more immediately accessible to everyone learning it for the first time, and for people who are playing again, like me, who can't read the tiles no matter how many times I've played. That's the only downfall with Waddle.